Hour 2 Overdrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel. Bryan Hayes, the Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan, and look who's in studio. Luke Wilson's in here.
How's Parksy doing?
I love you, my man. How are we feeling, Parks? Let's go.
5-0, eh?
It's sickening, isn't it?
Dude, doesn't a 5-0 Luke? Like, one guy wasn't a professional athlete on this panel right now. How good does it feel to be 5-0? It's awesome.
It's incredible.
Oh,
when I wake up, dog, I just feel, it's like I feel lighter, more energized. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's like you run to the gym. Everything is good. Everything is great. You're on fire. You're feeling good. The hair's good. It's all good.
It's all good.
Sickening, man. Wow. Isn't it sickening?
You know what?
It's not all good. It's awful.
But there was a prediction.
Yep.
You said that you've got the pick tonight. You felt that after this weekend he'd be right back in.
Oh, I said
what?
It'll be 6-5.
I know you will butcher tonight because I know who you're going to pick,
No,
and I guarantee you.
No, I won't.
Guess his pick. Guess his pick. Because he's such a predictable fraud.
Yeah.
Guess his pick.
He's going to go. He's got the Eagles covering.
Yes.
You have the Eagles covering.
You're right, I do. Put it on the board. Eagles minus 6.5.
It's
Eagles
ridiculous.
minus 6.5.
We're 6-0, dog. We're 6-0.
No, you're not. You're not, because this fraud right here, Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins, you think he's going to come up big?
He's going to get dummied tonight. He's going to get dusted.
Did you?
Partsy, I will say, Kirky Cousins, I'm concerned about him.
Let's have a discussion.
Let my Partsy talk, please.
Agreed, but
explain.
Primetime Kirk has not been great.
Yes.
However, Mac Jones is also not great. Torched this defense. You look at the Eagles, they lost their best coverage linebacker and their two starting safeties in free agency. They will go get Blankenship. He's hurt. Mm-hmm. Slay's going to cover Jefferson. You got Hawkinson now. You've got the new young kid there.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins still threw for 344 last week. Even if the Eagles put up 40, Kurt's going to throw for another 340.
No.
The Eagles will win by 5 points, and we'll be FaceTiming you at 11:30 p.m. Eastern.
I'll be answering, man. You guys better be ready.
Okay,
I'll be sending.
If you win tonight, will you FaceTime
Absolutely,
both of them?
I will.
And will you guys answer?
No, they won't because they're gutless.
Did you not hear?
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers goes down at 16-3.
Yeah.
I picked up. You guys reached out to me. I wasn't reaching out.
I thought Hazy B was the person who started that FaceTime. That wasn't correct.
No, that was him. That was
I thought it was Hazy B.
No. I wouldn't possibly do that.
Little did he know about the culture Robert Saleh has created.
I noticed that. It came back to burn me. But here's my take on the Eagles tonight. You may be right. I can't argue the facts about who might be gone or who might be out for the Eagles, but that Vikings defense is terrible.
Agreed.
Awful. To the extent that Baker Mayfield was picking up on signals. Baker Mayfield rolled in there and pounced on them at home. I didn't like Jalen Hurts' game last week. I didn't like the Eagles' offense. That Eagles' offense, I still think, is a top 5 offense in football.
100%.
They are looking for redemption. I think they redeemed themselves tonight. It's a short week. The Vikings, they won so many one-possession games last year. So many things broke their way. I think a rude awakening is coming. I don't think they're very good.
Lose a one-possession game?
No. I think they might by 7.
No.
Yeah, I think they might by 7.
You know
You're
what,
right.
Hazy? You know what
By
the Vikings
touchdown.
are capable of doing? They're capable of winning a game they have no business winning. I think that's
True.
what they're capable
They
of
did that
doing.
against Buffalo last year.
You're sure you don't want to go with the Vikings?
No.
6.5 points.
I
This
love
is
the
the
Eagles.
NFL.
I love
Short
the
week.
Eagles. I know
They
it's a short
corrected
week.
everything in a short week?
Short week, the home team under the lights. You know who I think is going to have a big coming out party tonight? Jalen Carter. I think that kid crushes Kirk Cousins tonight. That kid's a stud. The most talented player in the draft. He had a lot of red flags off the field, but that kid is a stud.
So, if Minnesota loses tonight, are you concerned? 0-2 is not a good start.
I don't think they're making the playoffs anyway.
You don't think they're a playoff team?
I don't think they are.
So to me, you're concerned because you've lost 2 games.
Right.
But to me, it also depends, like, the level of panic, let's say, about your division. And what I mean by that is if you look at, like, let's go for the Seahawks in that division first.
Right.
They lose the Lions this week. Theoretically, the Niners will win. I don't think they ever catch that gap. I know it's only 2 games, but, like, that means the Seahawks are going to have to win 13 games, I'm guessing.
Right.
And still, I don't know if that's going to be enough.
Yeah.
So in that division, I don't know if I'm hitting the panic button yet because the Bears are terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible. Okay. The Packers, I think, are better than what people are thinking, but do I think they're going to go win 13 games or run the table? No.
Okay.
And the wild card, is the Detroit Lions. Like, obviously just beat Kansas City, but how good are the Lions? I don't think they looked great in week 1. They might come out and absolutely smash Seattle. They might come out and lay an egg. Like, I'm not ready to put my stamp on the Lions as a legit team yet, so I'm not completely panicked if they go 0-2.
Okay.
Right.
Well, listen, I think it'll be a good game tonight. I feel like the Eagles are a much better team. They're at home, short week. What concerns me is that the Vikings are coming off a loss. Like, they have to bounce back. They have to play better.
Kirk Cousins threw for 344.
Mm-hmm.
This team can't cover anyone right now.
Luke,
Listen, the Bucs are a terrible team, though.
And we always come back like old school people that think about sports. Like, when I hear NFL people talk about the Eagles and any of their matchups, a lot of the talk goes to they can't match up with the physicality of offensive and defensive lines. Like, it's just such a big part. We talk about skill, but like just big, strong, and physical is such an important part.
Mm-hmm. That's what wins.
That's Philly.
That's football games. That is the reality. Is we all love to like talk about, you know, the stars of the game. Yes, but if you want a team that's going to consistently win and play good football, you look at all of their makeup, their front seven on defense and their offensive line are always stout. And if they don't have a great offensive line, they're at least super dirty. Just dirty players.
That's why we're Pardsies. Yes. That's why we're Pardsies.
And that could get the job done in this league. If you have just a grimy, nasty, disgusting offensive line, you win football games.
Well, isn't that the Belichick way? Like, obviously Brady played a massive role in his success, but like I've read and heard from different people that have documented this. Like, his take, which was Parcells' take, is you need monsters in the trenches.
1,000%.
Like, if you have massive human beings that are nasty, you're going to win ball games.
I always say, again, I go back to my time playing, but like the year we won the Super Bowl, everybody talked about the Legion of Boom, and rightly so. But if you look at that defense, Michael Bennett and Cliff Averill were actually coming off the bench. Like, our defensive line was outrageously stacked, and everyone, again, wants to talk about the guys that get the sacks. But when I thought of it, we had a nose tackle, Brandon Mebane. We had an interior guy, Red Bryant. We had another guy, Tony McDaniels, who had bounced around, who was an absolute stud. And it was like these dudes were monsters on the inside.
Are they mean, like dirty and mean too?
Just huge, mean, dirty, big. And it was like they just took no shit. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that.
No.
I remember.
It's out there now.
It's out there now.
We had one. I'll never forget this. We show up to New York. And
this is your partner.
Yeah,
shameful.
We shot him up.
You know what? It's real talk.
It's real talk.
It is real talk.
Yeah, that's how you want. You want to talk about sports.
We've got to be.
That's how you
frauds.
talk about sports. What I want to know is what kind of groceries would those guys eat? Did you ever go out for lunch?
Absolutely
with those animals?
not. Absolutely not. I mean, I was a stupid rookie on that team. When you're a rookie in the NFL, especially on a good team, you should be seen, not heard. That was like a good way to live by.
Right.
I remember, again, speaking of O-linemen, one of our best guys on offense was Max Unger. And Max Unger was like our team captain. And I was like, man, like if I could ever get Max Unger's approval, like I'm a guy in this locker room, you know?
So you wouldn't go up to guys and say, hey, where are we going for dinner tonight?
No, not as a rookie. Absolutely not. I'm telling you, I was barely speaking. And
So you had to be
would
invited.
anyone bring you to dinner?
Well, that's the next thing. In that league, if you go to dinner with a vet, you're paying. And and it's not. So absolutely not would I want to go to dinner with anyone who was older than me because I know exactly how it's going to work. A couple drinks, who knows, bottle of wine. They might even bring a bottle of wine home if they can. State of Washington, they let anything go there. And I'm paying for all of it. But I remember Max came up to me my second year, and I hadn't spoken to him pretty much the whole first season.
Mm-hmm.
I get in the offseason again. We won the Super Bowl. And he's like, hey, Luke, how was the offseason? Like, you got to come out to Hawaii. He lives in Hawaii. And I'm like so confused because I'm like, Max has yet to speak to me. So I go, come out to Hawaii, like, and visit you? He's like, yeah, come into the house. And you could tell that I'm like a little confused. He's like, oh, I probably never told you this, did I? I'm like, told me what? He's like, the reason I never spoke to you last year is because I have a rule. I never speak to any rookies. But you were my favorite one, man. I love the way you play ball. And I'm not you too.
You're kidding me.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Didn't Andy Reid have a story like that recently? I think LaShawn McCoy was on a podcast, And he's like, Andy Reid, the coach, does not talk to rookies.
Yeah.
Like, won't until they prove to him that they're worthy of his acknowledgement.
There's all kinds of stories about Kobe Bryant, too, like would not acknowledge their existence.
Yeah.
But
Like
on the
acknowledge
field,
it.
you need these guys. You're probably talking
On
in
the
the
field,
game,
yes,
right? Like,
100%.
hey,
Let
I
me
need this.
clarify.
Partsy,
Yeah,
I
right.
actually think that type of stuff is garbage. Like, they're a part of the team. Imagine when you have a kid that makes it to the big leagues and you hear of that garbage. I think it's nonsense.
I agree. And, like, I remember when I got drafted and, my first few days there in offseason, like, the first text message I got was from Russell Wilson. And he was like, hey, great to have you here. If you're planning on moving to town, here's some areas to live. Here are some restaurants. If you ever need anything, here's my cell number.
That's cool.
And it was awesome. Like, you're 23 years old. You just got drafted. You're like, wow, this is great. And then the flip side, though, is you have the odd vet that won't speak to you. I remember I introduced myself to a guy who was supposed to be a mentor, and instead of, like, shaking my hand, he kind of gave me, like, the dead fish and just, like, walked away.
Literally like a dead fish.
Like, get away
outta
from me, you
here.
scumbag.
Just
And
you're
I'm
a
like,
nobody. Like,
Yeah.
chew on that and get the hell out of here.
yeah, and it was weird, too, because, again, it was such, like, a stark difference between some of the guys that were like, hey, I'm here to help you out, and some of the other guys were like, this guy's here to take my job or take playing time away from me.
Right.
And I get it. Like, as I got older, like, I remember Richard Sherman would always help the young guys out. And his whole thought was, if this young guy is good enough to take my job, he deserves it. Like, he had such confidence in his ability that it was like, no matter what, I help this guy. I'm one of the best corners in the game. For him, the best corner in the game. Better be careful how my verbiage. And it's like, he's going to help out whoever. But then there are other guys that are kind of on the very opposite end of that spectrum.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like, it's basically a self-esteem issue almost.
Yeah.
Like the vet who's like, I know who you are, I know why you're here, and
I mean,
I'm not going to be
rules
friends
are
with
different.
you.
Football and hockey. I just remember junior, like the rookies had to load the bus. There are like little kind of rules now where if you're a rookie, you shouldn't be first in line at dinner and stuff like that. Just kind of a respecting your elders, respecting the veterans in the room. That takes it to another level. It's like, you see a guy, you're the only two in an elevator on the road. He just doesn't speak to you. Like, that's a
And where
a little
would
bit
they
of a
learn
weird
that
thing.
from? Like, would he have been subjected to that? So it's like, all right, I guess that's how I'm going to operate? Or do vets pick up on their own?
I had nothing but positive experience with veterans. My roommate, Brad McCrimmon, he always paid for my dinner. And
Wow.
I made more than him.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
I
that
made
is-
$800,000 my first year, and he was like, you're not paying for dinner.
O-Dog,
And he
that
always
is the
told-
polar opposite in the NFL.
Yeah.
And he always told me, have $1,000 cash in your pocket at all times if you get jammed up.
Those old, honest to God, that's the funniest.
I
little,
was like, I asked him, I'm like, what do you mean $1,000 if I get jammed up? He goes, trust me, you always need $1,000 cash in your right
It was-
pocket if you get jammed
Every
up.
veteran
And
you ever
then
played
5 years later, I do exactly what he
honest to God, every veteran you ever played with had a wad of cash, and like to go on the
case.
road, it was just like they had thick stacks.
Just in
Really?
case.
Now, I don't know why. I can
I know.
imagine
All those
why.
old school guys, 3,500 cash,
this
just
is
folded up in the right pocket. It's
This
like,
isn't for
why do
gambling.
you
No,
need that?
it's for like dinners and
Anything.
anything you.
Anyone
And
you
these
gotta
guys would go out
give
and
money
it was
to for
cash.
whatever reason.
Like nowadays, I think it's everything's cards. But back then, I remember a guy left his wallet in his room, and I happened to be leaving the hotel. I was the last guy. So they call back. They're like, hey, Noodles, this guy left his wallet in the room. Security's going up. I went in there. There was a stat. Like, it's like I was going to a bank. I'm like, what is going on here? It's like I handed it to him on the bus. I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, got to bring cash on the road.
Just in case,
I'm like,
man.
that is insane. Like,
And not for gambling on the bus.
it was not for gambling or like strippers or anything. It was just like, hey, we're going out for dinner. You need cash. Here's
incredible.
$1,000, $5,000. Like it was.
It is a
now
good
this
rule
is
to
big.
live on. It's like you never know when you need to give somebody $1,000 to say shut your mouth and go home. It is a great thing to do.
That's what I'm assuming. It's like, hey, here's $1,000. You didn't see anything.
Yeah.
We're out of here.
Yeah.
Your mouth.
Yeah, you
just
shut your
okay.
mouth and go home and have a good night's sleep. Okay, thank you.
There's $1,000. All right, the Bills have got the Raiders this week. This will say everything we need to know about the mojo around the Bills. If they lose this game,
They're not.
They can't.
Not only
they shouldn't.
I was on Jay Onright show last night.
Yeah.
As you guys know, I usually kill the Bills. I think the Bills will win the AFC East, and I think they are going to absolutely stomp the Raiders.
Really?
Wow.
Raiders got talent, man. They're coming off a win.
This is
Going across the country, but still.
I mean, this is the NFL. Josh Allen's not going to play like that again. I'm not saying he won't make mistakes.
Pardsy, what about his comments, though? Aren't you concerned about the comments saying same bleep, different day?
Yeah.
If I'm looking at our leader, and Pardsy, you're a leader, you're my leader, and I'm a leader too, I would be concerned hearing that out of your mouth.
1,000%. But the one line I did finally enjoy, because when I'm watching the game, I'm like scratching my head. I'm like, why is he doing this? And I think more so than anyone, like all of the throws are on third down, where it's like at this point, and after blowing a game to a division rival, in the fashion they did on Monday Night Football, I think he's finally going to be like, all right, it's third down, it's not there, take a field goal, punt the ball, like trust in our defense. Even some of those picks, it's like, don't do it. Like you've got Zach Wilson on the other side of the ball. He's not driving the field 90 yards. Get Sam Martin in there, who might have had the worst tackle, attempt I've ever seen.
That was unreal.
Unreal. Sam's kind of my guy, so I'm not going to dog him too much. And take, smaller throws. Even the last pick, it's 3rd and 2. He's got Stefon Diggs coming on the backside in the shallow. Put the ball on him. Stefon makes a play. He probably gets 4 yards. I think at this point, Josh Allen has now hit rock bottom with the risk that he's taking, and he's going to play more sound progression-style football, which will help this team.
Luke Willson in studio. You mentioned Stefon Diggs.
Yeah.
Wild story out of Buffalo yesterday where a team reporter, like someone that works for the team, I believe like BuffaloBills.com.
Yeah. Did you hear this?
No.
Yes.
This is breaking me off.
We have it. Should we? Okay, can we play? It's obviously been censored, I'm assuming. Yeah, okay. So there was a live mic. They were waiting for press conferences to start.
Yeah.
And this was a private conversation, which it's greasy, but now it's public.
Well, it's a hot
out
mic,
there
right?
now. It's a hot mic.
So.
And this was a conversation between a team reporter and I guess other reporters in the room.
There's no control over Stefon Diggs.
Yeah.
Go get it.
Yeah.
Go get it.
Dude's gonna do what he wants to do.
How are you coming over there? Steph, get your ass.
Nope. He'll look at my face and say, F you.
No.
How he treats everybody.
So that's, ooh, man. So she's saying,
He treats everybody.
Has she commented on it?
oh, yeah, she immediately came out, said, horrible mistake, issued a statement immediately. I don't know how she's going to walk in that room again. That's going to
That
be
probably cost her job, to be honest.
It very well could. Now, her argument will be
That's
it
her
was
opinion.
a private conversation, and I guess it's her opinion. But now it's out. Like it's no more. It's not private anymore because it was made public because of a hot mic. Diggs has responded. Diggs, I guess.
So she's accusing him of what?
So
He
she-
treats people like garbage. What did she say? She goes, he'll look you in the face.
Yes. So she basically said there's no controlling Stefon Diggs, and she said he will look you in your face and say "F you" and walk off.
So
And That's
what?
how he will treat people. Well,
Well, that's
I guess
that's her problem
indicating
is
because
disrespect.
the story obviously you're aware of is that there's disconnect. There's a disconnect between Diggs, Allen, Diggs, and the Bills. Some people have reported. I believe Stephen A. Smith said that he has heard from sources like Diggs wants out,
Yeah, which is I could see that. But
and Trayvon Diggs, his brother, has already jumped on Twitter and said we got to get like this guy out of there. Basically,
so
what should we make of this, and where does it go?
to be honest with you, not everybody, but I've played with a lot of stars that comment could apply to 45 people that I played with. And that's just the reality of the situation. It's like, I think a lot of times we all want to think of these like superstar athletes as like, oh, he's the best guy. He's such a great dude. And, we see him on like some sort of commercial. And it's like that. I'm not saying I don't know Stefon Diggs. That could be a, mischaracterization, whatever. But I've played with a lot of dudes that were great ball players that were just completely wild when it came to a lot of things. So to me, anybody in the locker room doesn't care about that if he's performing on game day. It's a sad reality.
What did he come out and say about her comments?
He's responding. He just tweeted. Stefon Diggs tweeting out. There's a number of tweets here. The audio shared was very hurtful and was insulting to my character and to the way I was raised. I've always treated people how I want to be treated. I greet everyone with smiles and respect, from the people in our cafe to the people that keep our building in clean. And like it's just going to go on and on and on. But
maybe he's a Colin Montgomery.
There might be some Monty there.
Call it a grin screwer.
But
just people that are like, hey, I was like, oh, you son of a.
here's the one that probably matters in terms of the interactions with Diggs and the media. Is Stefon Diggs tweeting out, quote, "The media or fans may confuse my competitiveness that they witness on the field as who I am as a person. But off the field, I'd never treat anyone how she described and have never said anything remotely close to that to her. I don't know why it was said, but this is an example of why people don't want to deal with the media. It's hard to fight the preconceived notions people have about you, regardless of ever having a personal experience with them."
That would be my next point. And like taking Stefon Diggs' side on this is like, there were guys on Seattle, and I would sit there and listen to them and be like, hey, we got a press conference coming up, some of our bigger players, let's say. And they would joke, be like, hey, let's make something up today and like feed it to the media. Like, generally speaking, you don't have a great relationship with your local beat writers because they're in there like snitches, if you will. Like, I remember I used to call one guy, I don't know if you ever watched the show Recess, but the guy who would report everything to the principal.
Yeah.
And it's just like, get out of our locker room. Now, granted, they have to be in
hall
there.
monitor or whatever.
Yes, the hall monitor kid. It's like, to me, like, Stefon could be great with everybody, and he could be frustrated with local media for a variety of reasons. And one of them, if I'm guessing, and I'm Stefon Diggs, is he probably thinks, which I would agree with him, that he is the best, one of the best receivers in the NFL. I don't think anyone would disagree with that statement. And in his mind, he's probably wondering, like, hey, if I'm on a team where the quarterback is not turning the ball over as much as Josh Allen, what is my, legacy?
Value.
What is my value?
Well, maybe the best thing to happen here is, and I know you just said, you've talked about him as being the top 2 or 3 receivers in the NFL. Maybe you just got to move on from the player. Because don't you feel that there's some tension or some pressure? Some of the decision making Josh Allen has is, I got to get this guy the football to keep him happy, and it seems like he's quite willing to go out of his way to do it. And it just seems when you got the brother tweeting, "Let's get him out of there," maybe for the Buffalo Bills, getting rid of this guy in some capacity is the best thing for the team.
They win if that happens.
I agree and I disagree, O-Dog. I agree. Again, I've been in situations where the player and the ownership or the player in the locker room needed to split ways and it went too long.
But you also know a wideout with an attitude that's not happy, it never works out in a positive manner.
Agreed.
Never.
But where I get nervous with the Bill, it never does. And that's my thing, is it will be like putting a Band-Aid over it if they win. But if they don't win the Super Bowl, it'll just continually, grow, snowball into something that, I already think at this point it's getting there where you can't really fix this. It's
but
not correctable.
they need Stefon Diggs.
If they
need him.
If Gabe Davis was playing more consistently, or anyone else, like even these reports about the Bills, and again, you just heard me, I think they'll win the AFC East, but these reports that they're like, oh, we really bolstered up our wide receiver room. It's like you went out and got Trent Sherfield. That's not like, I'm not saying he's not
Doesn't
good.
classify.
But that's not like, okay, we're rolling out here with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So if you take Stefon Diggs from this offense right now, what does it look like? Because that's pretty much their identity. Throw to Stefon Diggs and then hope somebody else plays good.
Yeah, exactly. There's no creativity on that offense.
And it's
like
not
none whatsoever.
something they need right now,
No.
given the game they just came off of. This distraction, that's...
Yeah.
I think it's not good.
Well, but you're saying, though,
Yes.
you would the players would separate, like Diggs versus media. Guys in the room, they don't care about that. Like, they wouldn't be like, oh, the media, you got, hey, Stefon, we got to talk about this because your relationship has to be better. Like, guys don't care how anyone interacts with the media.
One bit.
Right.
I don't know, I'm not saying he did this, but if Stefon Diggs was considered a guy who was a great teammate, I don't know if he is. I've never played with the guy. But if he was considered in that locker room to be a great competitor, great teammate, all the above, and he went in and flipped a media person off right to their face in front of everyone, not one person would care about that action.
Right.
And that's just the reality. I'm not.
No,
I know it's not
exactly.
maybe the most warm, fuzzy thing, but it's the truth.
They're not saying, man, now we're in trouble against the Raiders because of what happened there. That's not going to happen. Zach Wilson going to Dallas. Zach Wilson and the Jets are in Dallas playing the Cowboys. That spread is massive right now. I think it's going to keep going up by kickoff.
Can we get that game?
We'll see. I mean, you paid off the grappler last week. The grappler gave you guys layups, and I had to have the toughest matchups going.
You want me to start doing the
Possibly. I mean, the
because
grappler seems compromised. These two have
Well, he was
possibly paid him off $1,000 cash.
Can you believe this? You know what I can't stand for, O-Dog? We come out and have an immaculate weekend, and he's going to try and diminish
there's
the
an
hard
asterisk.
work that we put in as
I'm
a
Mike
team.
Tirico.
The hard work we put in as a team.
There's an
I
asterisk.
think it's a complete disrespect of two former professional athletes that have come together and merged and formed a super team. My man!
Well, here's the thing, though. You pointed something out. Check Grappler's pocket to see if there's $1,000 cash in it.
$1,000 cash.
Hey, Grappler, shut up. You never heard anything like that. Give us some layups.
We want these games.
Just in case you need. You want a new wedding suit? Here's $1,000 cash.
Exactly.
I feel like Zach Wilson's going to be running for his life, but they have to just run the ball in Dallas, don't they? Like Breece
have to,
Hall,
but-
Dalvin Cook each have to get like 30 touches.
I totally agree, but at the same point, this Dallas defense is the real
They're
deal
so
now.
good.
I mean, across
Like the Giants
board,
were so bad that more focus was on the Giants,
Right.
but the Cowboys deserved a ton of love.
a ton of love. And I mean, I don't know how I forgot this, but you've got Trayvon Diggs out there. They went and signed Stefon Gilmore. I mean, you still got Micah Parsons, who, is up there with, I would say, Nick Bosa, in the sense of like one of the best defensive players in the league. I mean, Leighton Vander Esch can tackle like with the best of them. These guys they're loaded.
Is there any chance that Zach Wilson pulls this out?
No, no. There's.
Like, there's, zero chance.
Noodles, when I watched the game against Buffalo and he threw that pick to Matt Milano, it wasn't so much that he threw an interception that was shocking, but like they play it back.
There was nobody there.
And you've got a shallow route, we can call it a drag, everyone has different terminology, and you've got a basic behind it, or 10-yard in, let's put it in easier terms. That play is installed day one in college, let alone in the NFL. Everyone has that play.
Yeah.
Matt Milano takes a check step in, drops right into his zone. Like, it's not like, oh, he was a spy and like tricked him or he shouldn't have been there. The most generic coverage for that play.
Yeah.
And he drops back and pipes Matt Milano right in the chest.
It was like he threw it like for him.
Like, what could you possibly be looking at?
I don't know.
And when I
Ghost,
saw
man.
that, I was like,
Luke, who was the best defensive? The best defensive player, DB or whatever, in the backfield where you were like, that guy is so smart and so smooth that it's outrageous how good he is.
to me, in a bit of a cop-out, but was my own teammate, Cam Chancellor. I mean, I see him every day in practice.
Not you competed against, though.
In a game,
Opposition, not a guy in your team.
opposition, wow. I should probably give guys more respect right now.
Like guys who would cover.
Yes.
Luke, is that what you're saying?
Like
So-
covering you, they're
linebackers,
on you, and you're
safeties.
like, this guy is slick, man. This guy's damn good.
To me, it was probably, again, this is for me, but I always got them confused, but the McCourty brothers for the Patriots, they'd play like safety, but they could run. And it was like even the year we played them in the Super Bowl, it just seemed like they knew what we were doing before we did it.
They might
I know that's
have.
kind of a bad ordeal because clearly the last play of the game, they knew something. But that, like, every time I felt like we played the Patriots, it was like they would do these weird coverage things that would leave them like a very high risk situation, but they always seemed to guess right. Like they would play this technique, which very rarely is used in the NFL, where they would trail you, but they'd like pick a side, like I bet he's running over here. Like they just seemed to know concepts, know exactly what was going to happen and where you'd be heading. So that was probably a couple guys that stuck out. And they were pretty quick, so that was pretty tough. And then as far as a hitter goes, as much as I didn't really love this guy, but I felt like Dante Whitner could bring the heat. And then the other guy that was kind of fun, you respected him, was a college teammate of mine. He played for the Vikings, Andrew Sendejo. This is always when you know that you've made it. When your offensive coordinator comes in Wednesday and is like, hey, before we even install a pass play, I want to tell you guys something. Andrew Sandeo might not be the best coverage guy, and he's going to miss some tackles. But I'm telling you right now, if anyone in this room catches the ball, he's going to be coming downhill, and he's going to take your head off. It's not like to start an offensive meeting on a Wednesday at...
You've got somebody's attention.
Yeah, it's like this guy has clearly put on film that he's out to take souls, which you got to respect.
You got to respect that. I think the best description is some guy running downhill. He is running downhill. And he is
the ultimate warrior
Yes.
running down the
He
ramp,
is going to absolutely destroy you. All right, the pick is in. Team Hayes and Company.
Hayes, how nervous are you right now? You
Eagles
gotta be
minus
sweating.
6.5. I'm sweating. I got to be honest. I'm
That
sweating.
FaceTime. I got that FaceTime.
Queued up.
Ready
Can I make
to
a
rock.
small prediction?
Go ahead.
Fourth quarter, the Eagles will be up about 11. It'll be
Backdoor.
garbage time.
Backdoor cover.
and the Vikings will score, though, 30 seconds left.
This is a backdoor cover spread. 6.5 is the most gutless backdoor cover.
Fourth
ever.
quarter, just put your underpants up on the FaceTime call. We want to see what they look like.
All right. I'll make sure to do that. All right. Get the hell out of here. See you, Luke. Good seeing you. Luke Willson joining us in studio.
Marty.
Oh, man. It's sickening. I'm winning tonight. I know. I'm telling you, 6-5 Tuesday morning. 6-5, because there's 2 Monday Nighters this week.
Yeah.
This is a lot of games.
We'll see.
A lot of games, a lot of season. I'm not too concerned at all. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.
Just avoided a massive catastrophe at my household.
What happened?
So stupid. Well, I didn't know any better. In a split second, I go outside. I see my neighbor, my man Connor. And guess what? Tells me Connor and Paige are getting married tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
Big deal, right?
Awesome. Good stuff.
Yeah. Have a great day, Connor and Paige, my neighbors. At the same time, a guy walks up with a mustache and he delivers a fruit chocolate bouquet. And I go, Connor, this must be for you. Because there's not a card, it's your wedding tomorrow. I go, here's your bouquet of fruit with chocolates on it. The guy from the mustache has nothing to say. He just says, take this. During commercial, my wife says, FaceTime me, please. And she says, how did you like our wedding anniversary fruits and chocolates? I go, excuse me? She says, how did you enjoy the fruits and with the chocolate on them, the bouquet? I said, well, we have a problem with that. So then I call my main man, Connor, and I said, dude, please tell me you didn't go crazy on that and eat all that. He goes, I haven't touched it. It's in my fridge, but I'm not in town anymore. Oh, my God. Luckily, Paige came through. She got her friend to go over. She's getting the fruit. She's getting
Shout
the
out
fruit
to
in the truck.
Paige.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
So did you
Paige.
not know that it was your anniversary today? Like, was that a part of the issue as well, that you weren't aware?
Yes, I
Okay.
knew.
Okay, you did know. All right.
But you didn't expect a
But you wouldn't
present.
expect that's actually very nice of your wife.
Yes,
that's
it's very,
very
very,
nice.
thoughtful, very nice. But no card, like there was nothing that would say until my wife informed me.
Right. And
But it's all good. Paige is getting
Paige
a friend.
is helping out. And naturally, if they're getting married tomorrow, you would expect that. Probably someone sent that to the newlyweds or soon to be newlyweds. Like,
Yes.
there you go.
Everything
And by
is-
the way, Paige and Connor, have a great day
Have
tomorrow.
a great
Yes,
day.
yes.
tomorrow. Pick yourself
Congrats.
up some fruit, maybe
Here's
with
the other
chocolate
thing,
on it.
though, that
Yes.
I pulled a
Yes.
detail out of the story. There was a delivery guy with a mustache.
Yes, who clearly had no interest in getting it to the right person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, all
And
he
now
was-
that I think about it, there was a little chocolate dust on his stash. So he probably was nibbling in the car.
well,
Yeah, I'd love to know how much that happens, man. You can put the tape on, but the tape can be replaced.
you're right. Like people, I mean, there's pizza delivery guy. You can't take a bite. Like you're gonna see
Grab
that.
a topping, though.
Well, you
grab
can
a pepperoni.
Well, but you might be able to do that, or you might be able to like grab a wing out of there or something like that. Did you see on Twitter today a TSA security official stole $600. You know how you put stuff into the bin and it goes
Yeah,
through?
then you go through the security.
Went through the wallet, took $600 out, and they caught him on camera.
You're kidding.
Yeah, I saw that on Twitter
Greasy.
today.
Ooh,
Well,
man.
it's probably not his first time, so he's probably driving a
Yeah, a nice car or
Lamborghini
something,
home
but
from the airport.
I don't know. There must have been a complaint or something because that's how they went back on the camera. It was like surveillance.
I mean, if you have $600 cash, you probably
You'd notice
are
that
gonna
missing.
recognize, like, wait a minute, something disappeared, and I didn't have my wallet for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Well, this guy happened to be going through it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's a coincidence.
I'm glad Connor, they're just good people because I probably had some maybe karma because me and my brother were up here and we got a boatload of Swiss Chalet dropped off. And I looked at him and I said, "Did you order this?" He goes, "No." "Did you?" "Absolutely not." And we fed like
What? You started
kings.
eating it?
Gone within half an hour. We hadn't had dinner yet, and
Well, then-
2 giant bags. The guy's like, "Here it is," and I brought it in.
Fed like kings.
And I said, "Did
Like,
you order
why
this?"
you-
the idea that neither of you ordered it.
And they just fed like kings. Like, well, who ordered it for you? A
The
ghost?
brutal thing is, we complained that the guy that ordered it ordered too many potatoes. He had like 5 potatoes. It was probably for a family.
Yeah, that's a family pack. There's
Yeah.
probably stuffing in there, toys for kids.
Everything. You can
Everything.
Oh,
buy
did we ate good. We ate good.
Did you order this? No. Did you? No.
Man,
Nah?
it's
all
good.
right.
Yeah.
Let's eat.
What are you going to do? It's all good. All right. We'll come back and we'll get you an update on what's going on with the Mike Babcock story. We should readdress this because there is a new chapter to the story in terms of how the NHLPA is approaching it. We'll tell you about that. We'll get more into it later this afternoon. And again, Jays Rangers tonight, game 4. Jays are getting smoked, man. They lost 10-0 last night. What are they losing? 26-7 aggregate in the series. Good start. Dallas Braden, our buddy Dallas Braden, will join us in about 25 minutes. Overdrive continues, TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, Dallas Braden in about 20 minutes. Sean Merriman still to come. So the head of the NHLPA and Ron Hainsey, who I guess is like the head player rep, although Ron's not playing anymore.
No, Ron, I believe.
He's like the new
took
Matthew Schneider. Okay, so
Yeah.
Ron Hainsey is like the new Matthew Schneider.
Right-hand man.
The right-hand man. They're either in Columbus or on their way to Columbus
Right.
to continue their investigation into what's going on with Mike Babcock, which I find quite interesting because the Blue Jackets issued the statement in conjunction with Boone Jenner, and Johnny Gaudreau said on the record publicly in Vegas, like, I was all good with it. And I think Columbus and the Blue Jackets, and I'm certain Mike Babcock, were hoping, that's it, put to bed, all good, we're moving on. I don't know how often the head of the PA flies into a market to investigate a situation like this. I can't imagine it happens a lot.
Well, he's new on the
And-
scene, Brian, and he is probably sending a message saying, "I'm going to have boots on the ground if there's a situation, and I'm going to set the standard early in my tenure, and that's why I'm going to be arriving there."
And
From the looks of this and hearing this and just kind of talking to people throughout the day, this does not look good for Mike Babcock. I do not think, because like you said, the Jenner statement followed by the Blue Jackets, it could have been put to bed. It's continuing, and whether other people are changing what they recollect of these exchanges with the coach, I don't know, but it just doesn't seem like it looks good.
well, and keep in mind, guys, I think a full investigation on any type of allegations is what they're going what not only the NHL but many leagues will be doing now. It just needs to be done because of the landscape. Now, there's been some things looking back in hockey. You probably wanted more things done with that. So moving forward, that's probably the protocol. And Marty Walsh, like you say, he's new in town, probably wants to establish that. And you want to get to the bottom from a player's perspective, from a PA's perspective, of what really went down, because
Right.
there's seems to be two sides to this. So why not continue the investigation? And if they come up and say, "Hey, we feel good about this. There's nothing to see here," or if it comes another way, but we're not comfortable with this, then you have to head that direction
Well,
as well.
and you're right. And all you need is one player
Yeah.
to speak up to Marty Walsh, who is now the head of the NHLPA, and or anyone else, Ron Hainsey or others within the PA. Because fine, Boo Jenner said what he said. Okay, right. Moving on. Johnny Gaudreau said what he said. Moving on. There's 20 other players.
Right.
If you have one player who said my interpretation was this, the PA is going to act on that.
Right.
Now that doesn't mean that that's the end of the road for Babcock, but if Marty Walsh, who again has only been on the job for about 6 months, maybe, is flying in and bringing Ron Hainsey with him, that would suggest to me he's been told, you better get here and start talking to people.
Right.
And if he finds something, or if one of the players tells him, hey, this is what went down and I don't like it,
there's a problem.
There's a problem.
Yes.
Now, where it goes from there, I don't know. I mean,
by the way, Brian, I think it's the right thing for Marty Walsh and Ron Hainsey to be down there, just as a sign of support to say, we want to know anyway. We understand the statement from Boone Jenner. We understand the Jackets. But we want to talk to some guys to get a feel for this and understand what really is going on.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the right move, period.
I don't think any amount of information is too much in situations like this. You're gonna try and talk to everybody, try and figure things out, and no better way to do it in person instead of on the phone. And
do you think the league should be doing the same thing? Like I assume
probably
the league
are.
I guarantee the league is probably they probably have a representative or Marty Walsh. They're not at odds. There's a CBA in place. Marty Walsh will pick up the phone to Gary Bettman or Bill Daly and say, this is our findings.
Right, but Marty Walsh doesn't have the power to fire Mike Babcock.
No.
Right, like that's got to be sent. Again, this is simply my assumption. My assumption would be if they find something they really don't like that Babcock's done here, Marty Walsh probably calls up Gary Bettman and says, we got to meet.
Yeah,
and I'm going to tell you what's going on here. And then, Gary, you go back to the owner in Columbus, not the GM. Like this, I guess that's what sticks out to me here is this is almost out of the hands of the GM and the president. Now it's like the owner of the Columbus Blue Jackets is going to make a call on Mike Babcock.
If their findings are not the way you want, everybody will be under the gun when the message gets to Gary Bettman if there's some findings that aren't good. Yeah. Trust me, you don't think that Yarmo would be thinking, I'm on the hook for this guy because I brought him in. Something like this goes down, everybody's on the lookout.
It's wild, man. Again, we're like a week away from camps opening up. Seeing Mike Babcock in a Columbus Blue Jackets jumpsuit on the ice, running guys through drills.
Yeah.
I
And
don't know if it happens. I honestly don't.
I don't know what's going to happen here, but it's not over.
That's the thing.
I guess is what needs to be understood here.
The statement
not over equaling not good.
Right.
Yeah.
It's still noisy where you thought, okay, that'll go away if everyone was satisfied with their findings. That's not the case. Now, that might be 2 days from now.
Yeah, very well could be.
Or it could get a lot more noisier depending if their findings aren't good.
Well, this is going to hang over the Blue Jackets now for a while. Like, even if this ends and Babcock is the coach, like...
This was supposed to be just about hockey and turning a corner, man. And now they got this nonsense on their plate. It's very, very difficult. Very.
Well, like I'd be curious how you guys think like coach and player meetings are going to work now moving forward down in Columbus. Like after this is kind of in the air, let's assume it's all good and it moves on. Listen, if you're a player, he's your coach. And you got to do what he wants you to do. But if you're going into a one-on-one meeting, like, what is Mike Babcock thinking about the next time he sits in on a private meeting with a player?
Wearing a body cam. Stuff like that.
Honestly,
you hear all these.
Probably the lack of trust will end up going both ways, I guess is what I'm saying.
That's why, this is just difficult to recover from, period. Because guys have it in their head. Like, if I was on the Columbus Blue Jackets, just the level of trust and respect for the coach is, I'm not going to lie to you guys, it's probably out the window. Because I know myself in the way I conducted myself, even at 22 years old. If I walked into a room and a guy said, let's fire the phone up on the TV, I'd say, go to hell, and I'd be in my car in 3 seconds. I wouldn't care who it was. The owner, the GM, or the coach. You can go to hell, and I'm out of here. And I'd call my agent and say, we got a problem. That's how I would have dealt with it. Now, not everyone is like me, but if I also heard that teammates had to experience that, there's a problem. There's a problem.
Well, that's why you have these investigations. That's why you take it out of people's hands and you have other people come in. Like I say, Marty Walsh and Ron Hainsey are going to be involved from the PA standpoint. I'm sure Columbus, the organization, will have to have an internal.
Well, Hainsey played for Babcock here in Toronto.
Yes.
That's right.
Like, Hainsey knows Babcock very well.
Yep.
And no one was a bigger supporter of Ron Hainsey than Mike Babcock.
He loved him.
Yeah.
Yes. Personally scouted him. Remember? Was like, I was down there with Lou watching him when he was in Pitt.
Yeah.
Almost took responsibility for bringing him up. And Hainsey was a good Leaf. Really good Leaf. Final hour coming up. Jays Rangers tonight. What can we expect after that embarrassment last night? We'll look ahead to it. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050, soon to be up on TSN 2.